In this video, I am going to show you how to create something called a color cloud. And that's where you take a whole load of colors and you mix them all together, and those will be the colors that you use for your painting. Then I'm going to tell you the problems that come with color clouds. And after that, we're going to use part of the brush library to fix those problems, but also to show you an advanced way of working where you also get to put in color theory on that color cloud that's never been seen before, because I've recently invented it and I'm feeling quite pleased with myself. Let me show you what I mean. I will come to my A4 paper stack. Let's choose a piece of paper at random. Let's try velour. Duplicate it, put my finger on one of the versions, tap at the top where I'm circling, drag it out of the A4 paper library so I don't end up overwriting everything in there and having to reinstall, and let's load it up. Just to quickly recap, you got your paper layer at the top, which is giving the texture, which is pretty subtle here, and the color is being created when you go to the background. I'll leave it about there for now. Rule number one, if you're creating your color cloud and you already have a pretty good or a very clear idea of what the background color is going to be, put the background color there, because one mistake people make is they make the background white because a piece of paper is white. But there's always the danger when you do that you end up mixing your colors too bright because you're trying to match the colors to the brightness of the background. You'll often find people who paint with oils, they'll prime their canvas with a neutral color, which is kind of a mid-gray or mid-brown, so that they can balance the color values better. So I'm going to go with that. It can be any color. We're not painting anything today, we're doing the color theory. Okay, so now I want a color cloud. I will come to my paintbrush. Let's come to the top. Let's come to DC Hard Blocker Inner. How big is my line? I will check that by creating a new layer above my paper layer. And let's draw out a shape like this. Let me come in and check. The reason you have your color mixing layers above your paper layer is that if I drag it below, can't really see it too clearly at the moment, but if I come and I unlock this layer, then I will take up the opacity to maximum. Now, can you see that? Let's make my paper layer invisible for a second. All of a sudden, a very blank, smooth area of color. With the paper layer turned on, you're getting the paper texture. You do not want that when you're mixing your colors, because the paper texture is effectively darker bits and lighter bits. You want to be able to say that the color you're picking by resting your finger on and moving around, and then when you let go, that's your new color. You want to be able to say, yes, I've got the exact color I was looking for, instead of a slightly lighter version or a slightly darker version of that color because the paper's in the way. Just while I'm here, let's come and lock this so I don't accidentally paint on it. And quick pinch in to zoom to fit and select my layer 3, 3-finger swipe down, clear the layer. All right, so I'm going to make some flesh tones for this, I think, because with a portrait, you're painting a face, which is the first thing we learn to recognize as a baby, and it is that thing that we know and recognize better than anything else. And it's not just one continuous area of color unless someone is wearing an inch worth of foundation. There's all kinds of subtle variations, cooler highlights, warm highlights, cool shadows, warm shadows, rosy cheeks, red lips, yellowish foreheads. Enough of me talking. Let's come and find some colors. I'm going to come to my palettes. Let's try some of the pigments. Let's try what Pigments Essentials, and just to show you, if I come to cards, there's the name of the colors. All right, so let's mix something up. Let's try a bit of Naples yellow. Put that there. Let's take a look. Let's try a few. Let's try a cadmium red on the other side. Let's try some alizarin on the other side. You notice how I'm making kind of square shapes? That's because I want the borders to match up with each other. And let's put in a little bit of flake white because I've got a feeling I'm going to need it later, but I'll put that just there so I can sample it. Let's zoom in. And now I'm going to come to my smudgers and I want DC Blend Blur from the Blend and Glaze brush set. Let's take a look at the size. That could do with being a little bit smaller, but You can see with this, I can scribble around and I get this transition of colour there. And let's try one there. Then I put my finger on and I go searching for my base tone, which I'm going to mix with white. Here's a common mistake people make when choosing flesh tones. They go for the reddish end of the spectrum. I'm going to go more towards the yellowish end of the spectrum, maybe around there. I'm going to put that colour there. Let's take a look at this other one here. And you can see the alizarin is giving me a much more of a muted yellow colour. It's not as saturated. Let's try that there. Come back to my smudge tool, see what I've got. Let's do what I did before, go searching for a flesh tone. Yeah, that's giving me a flesh tone I can work with, I think. Incidentally, let's acknowledge something. There are all different kinds of flesh tones. Some lighter, some darker. They are all beautiful. For this tutorial, I'm concentrating upon my own particular flesh tone, which is Caucasian, simply because if I get it completely wrong, which occasionally happens, I can go in the mirror and chastise myself. That said, the process I'm following here works for any skin tone. Just while I'm here, let's just try something a little bit darker, although that's getting a little bit too colourful for my particular tastes or my particular skin tone. I'm looking at my hand now and thinking, yeah, that's too bright. I'm going to get rid of that. What about on this side? I want something which is halfway in between that mix of the yellow and the red and more towards that flake white. Flake white, by the way, is a warm white. It's not so popular these days since titanium white came along, but it does have its uses. Right, let's say those are my two skin tones. Which one am I going to use? Well, the one on the left looks more like my skin tone, but that is a very light skin tone because it's in the middle of winter in a northern European country. No, I think I'm going to try something just a little bit darker than that. So choose my base tone, then go hunting for something just a tiny bit more life to it. What about that? Look, I'll go with that for the sake of argument because there are things I want to do which will be more clear if I have a more of a mid-tone base flesh colour. Right, next thing. Going to draw a big... Well, I'm drawing a square. It doesn't have to be a square. It can be any shape you want. And because I'm using my blocker in, it's very easy to come in and just fill that. And there's our base flesh tone. Right, let's add some more colours around the outside of it. What am I going to have? I want lighter tones and I want darker tones and I want warmer tones and I want cooler tones. Let's take a look. Burnt sienna. That's always a nice one to use. I'm going to put the warmer tones, I think, on the right-hand side. And this is going to be like a mid-tone enhancer. So again, draw a little square here. Make sure there is no space in between one tone and the other. And I'm drawing in squares, so I've got more of a border to colour in. Let's make this a bit bigger on the screen, shall we? I also want some reddish tones for things like the cheeks or the ears. I'm not sure what to choose here, so I'll try Pearl Scarlet. I'll put that there. And I will take Quinacridone Rose. That's a very popular colour. Let's put that down there. You'll notice I'm bordering up to my flesh tone, but also those three colours are bordering each other. At some point, I want them to mix with each other. Now, what about some cool tones? Viridian is always a good one to mix. It looks terrible on its own on a piece of paper, but for mixing colours, Viridian works really well. I say it works really well. That's in the real world. This is digital. Don't expect digital paint colours to behave exactly the same as their real world versions. Right, also I think Payne's Grey, that gives a good, cool, neutral tone. I'll put those there. Now I want some lighter tones, don't I? So I'll come back to Flake White, put that at the top. I want a cool light blue as well. Let's try Radiant Blue. I've not actually tried it before. Let's give that a try. For the cool highlights, let's put a bit of an overlap there. I also want a warmer highlight as well. So for that, maybe I'll mix up something. Right, let's try this. A little bit of Flake White. A little bit of Quinacridone Violet. Put that there. Come to my blend tool. Mix those up. find a colour there. Nope, don't like it. Let's try flake white. Let's try a light cadmium yellow light. Let's give that a try. Put that there. Blur those together. Yeah, that's giving me the kind of light that you get when the bone is very close to the surface of the skin. You'll find that in areas like the forehead is a classic place. All right, get in there. Now, what about my darker tones? Burnt umber. That is going to give me a good, deep, warm skin tone. Let's take a look. Let's quickly go through some of these. Actually, Caput Mortem might have done a nice job, depending upon the skin tone again. Well, let's find some blues. Indigo. See what happens with that. Now, what about a neutral? DC Pigments 4, that's where I tend to keep my neutrals. Sepia could have worked nicely as well, but I've already got a warmer black. Let's try Shadow Violet. I know that when you look at them, a lot of these colours look identical, but they're not. There's a slight colour cast to them. It could be warm, it could be cool, and you only really see it when you start to do what I'm doing here, which is blending the colours into each other. Okay, I think that's my basic palette. I'm going to come to my eraser, come up to where it says General, come to DC Hard Blocker, make it nice and big, and I'm just going to get rid of these bits around the outside. Then I'm going to come, swipe to the left, I'm going to duplicate my layer, make the layer underneath invisible, and then I'm going to tap on the icon and come to Alpha Lock. Because I'm going to be doing a lot of smudging and smearing here, and I don't want to start smearing into the background, because if you pull the background in, you're pulling a transparent area in. That can affect the things that I want to do. I've done a backup because I'm going to be working fast and pretty chaotic, and if I decide I hate what I do, I've always got my backup layer there. So come to my brushes. For this, I've been using Blend Blur. I'm going to use Blend Smudge Round. The difference being is, look, if I show you Blend Blur, I'm going side to side. Can you see my brush head there? That's me going side to side, and I get a certain amount of blend, and it's pretty even. If I now come to DC Blend Smudge Round, which is just about the same size there, let's make it 100%, and I go side to side. Can you see how I'm dragging the paint in particular directions? That's what I want to do, because I want to start taking this paint, blending things into each other, but also dragging into the middle like I'm doing now. Drag backwards and forwards. I'm getting all different kinds of colours here. And I want, say for example, that slight magenta colour to blend with a brown colour to give me more options, as well as having the pure colour, as well as blending with the burnt umber. And this way I'm getting a whole load of different options. Like I say, it is pretty chaotic, but that's what I want, because I want to drag colours into each other. That way I'm getting those blues merging with the black, I'm getting the blue merging with the green, so I'm getting kind of a turquoisey colour, especially with this one, I would imagine. Now I'm going to take the opacity down so the effect isn't stronger, but I'm going to make my brush size a bit larger, because I'm getting streaks of colour here. I want to try and blend those out so I'm getting smoother transitions, so I've got more colours to choose from when I do my selections. That's the actual colours I want. Like here, some of these warmer, deeper colours. Do with a few more of those. Let's drag outwards a little bit so I don't completely obliterate the centre colour. But I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to get a good range of colours. This is the colour cloud. This is where you choose your various different paints from when you're choosing the colours for, in this case, your portrait. All right, I think we've got enough to be getting on with now. Or maybe just a little bit more of that green interacting with the flesh. Now, what I'm going to do is come up to my adjustments, come to Gaussian Blur, put my finger anywhere on the left-hand side of the screen, maybe about a quarter of the way in, and slide my finger across. You see the blue line just at the top, and if I drag my finger along, that blue line gets bigger, and as I do it, that color cloud is getting more and more blurred out to something like that. Actually, I like that. There's a lot of colors there I could use for portraits. But the problem with it is I'm losing my very darkest tones and my lightest tones, which I could go on and make another cloud based on this. But that's showing you another technique. Let's take this back a little bit. I want it so that I've got my different dark and light regions, but I want a nice, guaranteed, smooth transition. So I'm at what, say about 20%? Yeah, that suits me. So I'll press any other icon to commit to that. And there's my color cloud. And I can use various colors just by resting my finger on. I've got my basic flesh tone there. But if I want something a little bit warmer, a little more red, I've got these tones here. That's great. If I want something a bit cooler and a bit darker, I can come down here. And I've got my various colors. I can choose all kinds of shadow colors around here. And that's the way it works. But here's the problem. Sometimes I'll want to come back to a particular color. Like, for example, I'm using my flesh tone. Then I choose something which is cooler and lighter, which is warmer and lighter, sorry, up at the top. And I think, great, I'm painting. Then I come back and choose another tone. Then I think, oh, where was that cool tone from? And supposing I want to get something which is almost exactly or the complete same color, because I'm mixing colors and I can't sample it from anywhere else. I don't know where it is. So what I do is turn off alpha lock, put down a swatch there, put down a swatch there, put down a swatch there. I'm taking the various different colors, so I've got my reference there. But now I want to choose a color which is similar to that color I had, that light color, but I don't know whereabouts exactly I chose it from around here, I'm guessing. All right, so that's how you create a color cloud, but these are the problems with the color cloud. It's very hard to choose your original color unless you make separate little blobs down here, but then you don't know whereabouts the colors were in the original color cloud. It's a catch-22 situation. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can solve this, how you can have the best of both worlds, and also how you can include color theory on the color cloud. That's all coming up in the next lesson.